past few weeks, we've been talking a lot about censorship in the video game industry, and it doesn't look like that is unfortunately going to stop anytime soon. But Visa and Mastercard are apparently getting overwhelmed by furious gamers contacting their customer service lines and taking up their representatives' time throughout their workday. And now Visa is actually responding, saying that they do not moderate content sold by merchants, which is a complete and utter lie. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I never really expected these organizations to tell the truth and actually admit that they were wrong, because there is a coordinated effort to censor users across the world just on the internet in general, but the video game industry is being hit extremely hard right now, though we had just found out that apparently Visa and Mastercard are getting overwhelmed by gamer fury over censorship. I did another video on it, it will be linked down below, but to quickly summarize, it says on social media sites like Reddit and Blue Sky, people are urging one another to get into contact with Visa and Mastercard through emails and phone calls. Visa and Mastercard have become the targets of interest because the affected storefronts both say that their decisions around adult games were motivated by the danger of losing the ability to use major payment processors while selling games. These payment processors have their own rules regarding usage, but they are vaguely defined, and unfortunately, over the past few years, I even have talked a lot on this channel about how certain platforms like Steam have forced censorship upon developers, how they have not really allowed complete freedom on their platform. So I don't fully trust Valve and itch.io either, but at this point in time, yes, it does seem that the majority of the blame does need to be levied towards these credit cards, banks, payment processors. And in a now deleted post on the Steam subreddit with over 17,000 upvotes, commenters say that customer service representatives for both payment processors seem to already be aware of the problem, and there are so many threads being posted now saying that they've gotten responses from Visa and Mastercard. So here is one that really blew up over on Reddit. It says, "Hello, thank you for reaching out and sharing your perspective. As a global company, we follow the laws and regulations everywhere we do business. While we explicitly prohibit illegal activity on our network, we are equally committed to protecting legal commerce. If a transaction is legal, our policy is to process the transaction. We do not make moral judgments on legal purchases made by consumers." But that is a straight up lie, because now they definitely are. We know that the video games that are being banned, such as sex simulators, are legal content. They are properly rated by certain boards such as PEGI or the ESRB, and therefore these sales should be able to be processed, but they are not. Visa does not moderate content sold by merchants, nor do we have visibility into the specific goods or services sold when we process a transaction. When a legally operating merchant faces an elevated risk of illegal activity, we require enhanced safeguards for the banks supporting those merchants. And we know right now that organizations such as Collective Shout are using the moral argument that, oh, why is it you want to consume sex simulator games when that could hurt women and hurt girls, which is a complete and utter lie. There is no consistent scientific correlation between violence in video games and violence in the real world, or harm in video games to harm in the real world. So they are basically just trying to scare normal individuals that are not gamers into believing that this content is perpetuating violence and disgusting situations that real women could find themselves in the middle of because of those darn toxic gamers consuming adult content. They, of course, want to push the angle that pornography is bad, and while you might not necessarily agree that sex simulator games are fun or high quality content, at the end of the day, they are not illegal pieces of content. Therefore, we should not be discussing this topic of censorship. People across the world should not be having their entertainment censored, but unfortunately, this is the situation we find ourselves in now. And they can say that, oh, Visa does not moderate content sold by merchants, but several merchants are saying, yeah, we are being forced by Visa and Mastercard to censor certain content and remove certain content. Anna Valens had said, called Mastercard, said I wanted to lodge a complaint. Woman on the other line immediately asked if it was was about the Mastercard's adult content policy, they're definitely getting slammed. And these are not full-blown high quality statements. They're basically just AI or copy and paste responses that they have been told to give customers, but it is a little good, I would say, because we at least know that they have these responses in place, that they are receiving enough criticism at this point in time and backlash. So they have to have a certain response written up. Now, I would prefer them to make a full-blown response, right, and clarify everything in depth, though I just don't see them doing it at this point in time, and gamers are, of course, calling them out on this. So that was a fucking lie. What a total load of corporate BS, worse than that, straight up lying to your face. Well, that's a freaking lie. There are lots of people discussing how, yes, it is very difficult to inevitably boycott Visa and Mastercard and Stripe and PayPal and all of these different things, but ultimately, it is still good if you are calling them out, if you are taking to social media, sharing this video or sharing a post made by someone like Savvy, sharing another content creator's video, just saying, hey, listen, this is an absolutely ridiculous situation, because the more people are talking about it, the more eyes we can get on it, and the more eyes we can get on a situation, the more backlash and pressure that they might be facing and feeling. And I, of course, do not trust them. And I know so many content creators like Savvy, for example, have been posting some really informative threads. By law, financial institutions like Visa and Mastercard must have to have a hotline for integrity, ethics, and compliance complaints. The trending concerns are then raised and delivered to the board of directors and become available to customers and shareholders. Since what Visa and Mastercard are doing is unethical, we must report it to these hotlines. Bending the knee to a foreign extremist group that is weaponizing their vague toss to censor lawfully approved content is unethical and completely displaces the integrity of the system. And if you do decide to take some time out of your day and contact these customer helplines and hotlines, just be respectful, because the people who you're actually talking to are not the ones making the decisions. So just be very, very respectful. And I will link this thread in the description in case you want to find ways to contact them and voice how unhappy you are. But yeah, I mean, right now we are seeing these very generic responses. I don't necessarily think that at this point in time they're even taking it very seriously, but if this backlash continues, I think they're going to have no choice but to actually release a full-blown response, which could be good. I, of course, like many other people, do not want my entertainment censored. If something is properly rated, then adults should be allowed to consume it. I personally do not think pornography is a major problem, and I think that while, yes, there are individuals that think, oh, it's not that serious because it's just sex simulator games, censorship is a slippery slope, and just because it's sex simulator games right now doesn't mean it will only be them in 5 years or 10 years time. And we are seeing a mass wave of censorship across the internet happening right now. So just be very, very attentive to the situation. I would say check on social media every day, your favorite content creators, search up Visa, search up Mastercard, see what people are saying, because I have a bad feeling that this is really only going to continue to get worse. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if found it important and informative, make sure to subscribe, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.